I'm still doing shoots every now. So right now I'm a freelance copywriter,
Mm-hmm.
content writer. On the weekends you see me still working with Love in Dubai. I digital host the morning show, and I'm writing the content for their blogs. And other times I'm copywriting for different brands, real estate companies, this and that. Still modeling here and there, still doing the same shit.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I'm with some people. There's one video commercial that I did recently, and there was a 16-year-old girl with us. And I'm like, I'm 26, like she's been in the space for, let's say, 2 years. Okay, she's booking obviously all the younger roles, whatever, good for her. But then I realized that she was getting paid so much lower than I was. Um, and I couldn't tell her while the job was going on, but I remember after everything wrapping up, because I don't want to create kind of issues, I told her, listen, real talk, this is how much I was getting paid because I negotiated, and this is how much you're getting paid. Don't just take people's prices as is and just accept it. There's room to negotiate, especially if you know your worth. They want you because you speak Arabic, I told her. They want you because you're a fresh young face and you worked in all these hours. This is the standard industry rate now. Work with it how you want
Wow.
to. You know what I mean? Negotiate around that. Don't just accept like that they tell you, hey, this shoot is for 500 dirhams and you work 8 hours straight. Okay, cool. No, you have to stand your ground because again, everyone is just trying to survive right now as well. So they're trying to, I'm guessing agencies are trying to obviously get the most out of the work that they're putting out. So
Wow.
whatever that means in terms of cutting pay from other people, right? So you have to
Wow.
know. You have to
That's so
kind of
nice of
negotiate.
you. That's so nice that you said that to her.
I mean, I felt like it was my duty. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And also, if you keep allowing that to happen, what's going to happen to the market for freelancers, right? Because we are the ones that are the most affected at the moment. So we have to all stand collectively and have a standard so that no one keeps going below that standard. Because I could argue my rates right now, but then someone will be like, hey, I just hired this person who has this and this much experience, but they'd be willing to do it for more than half the rate that you're
Mm.
offering. What do I argue with that? Go for it. And then
Wow.
what does that mean? I have to dip my price to that standard. You know what I mean? How do you pay rent with it? Because it's really become a little bit ridiculous, the freelancing rates these days. So
Wow.
it's an odds movie, but it differs. It differs. If you have an agency you're working with, they know your price, cool. Or if you yourself have reached out to several brands on your own, cool. That might be. I mean, it differs, right?
Yeah. So I get the impression that, you know, in order to stay afloat, even as a student, you have to be headstrong. You have to make sure that you're willing to
You have
negotiate.
to study it, ask around. There's really no shame in the game of asking around. Don't just really accept things as like, because I think let's say if I was a student here now, okay, I would want to make a few bucks here and there, right? Because Dubai is not the cheapest place to live, and if you're new here, you might not know how to live on a budget here properly. Heck, I didn't even know how to live here on a budget until I became a freelancer here. That's what pushed me to really learn how to navigate towards, okay, I can take the metro. I don't have to take a cab always because it starts at what, a 12 dirham minimum rate, and that depends wherever you're going. Um, but I always tell them to do their research, do the due diligence of just like learning about the space and ask around, ask the people who have been in the space, what's the standard here? Is this fine? Is this normal? Because if they know that you're new, which in most cases nowadays they're looking for new people so that they can start a whole new different fee structure and
Mm-hmm.
create their own rules, then
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
And
and
then the
there's
rest of
no,
the
and I'm guessing there's no like standard conduct or like within the industry how to treat people or nothing like that.
I mean, the people who have been in this space for a long time know that standard,
Mm-hmm.
and don't stand for it. But there's really the pro and con of, okay, when you stand for it, you won't get the job.
Yeah.
You won't, because else is always going to be willing to do the job. But also at the same time, we can keep with the standards, but then, like I said, who's going to put food down the plate? So sometimes people have to accept these things. But I mean, again, it really all depends. It's been
Okay.
crazy. It's a whirlwind, definitely, since the pandemic hit. That's for
Really?
sure.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so simple question.
Mhm.
Transport. So are taxis, like for you, for instance, is it just a no-no? Is it like something where you're like, it's
I
just not,
wouldn't say it's a no. I
yeah.
wouldn't say it like we have Kareem and Uber now as apps. We've also got car and you drive, which are basically a pay per minute rental system. So you can register your car for car, for example, and there will be these many cars parked in specific across the city, and all you have to do is get in, use the app, and it'll take the money out of your card depending on the minute that you've driven it for example. So that's good for if you've got a license, if you want to go somewhere further down. Rental cars now they're all right. You can rent a car for a good 1,200.
Do you drive?
For a car. Sorry?
Do you drive?
Do I drive?
Yeah.
I mean, I have my license.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
I don't personally have a car here, but yeah. So sometimes I'll take in these options. And then so for Kareem, the apps, they have these things where the more you book rides with the Kareem apps, which is kind of like another Uber, you get points, and so you can use those points for free rides in the future, right? But the minimum charge, I think now, is 12 dirhams across all board. So normal taxis, Kareem cabs, Uber cabs.
Okay. So I think that's like...
And there's the separate fee for the waiting time as well.
Oh,
back then, how much was it minimum? Wasn't it like
I think 8? It started at 8 and then went up to 10, I think.
Went up to 10, yeah, during while we were in our third year university.
Yeah.
And then now it's...
Damn. Yeah. I remember the metro. I started with the metro.
Metro's still the same. So she's an OG.
Does she have more stops?
She definitely has more stops.
Really?
She's now running across Discovery Gardens as well.
Oh.
Because they created a new line for the Expo 2020, which is kind of further down in Jebel Ali. So they've got that whole area. So that would have been a good... I wish I had that, because I remember that second year. Remember, I moved out. I was like, I'm out of the dorms. I'm moving into Discovery, because they had the cheapest options for studio apartments. But I was like, how am I going to get out of here? I didn't find the line. So good for the student.
So was accommodation expensive for you? Because this is a good point to move on to. Did you feel like, did you have to save up in order to afford accommodation?
For sure. For sure. The money that I would make, definitely. I had to force it, because I wasn't comfortable living in the dorm, because our dorms were really in the middle of nowhere, right? And I was like, I want to get more out of my university experience. And I can't do that if I'm having to pay the private driver that we had. Can't remember his name, Ashraf.
Oh, I remember him.
It's just too expensive. So I'm like, I can't do this. At first, I moved to JLT. Which at the time, I split that with my roommate. The studio in JLT cost how much? 8,000 dirhams a month.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper now for sure.
Really?
Students, definitely cheaper now.
Oh
of
my
course,
gosh.
Prices have gone way down with rent. Now we would have lived it. Right
really? Now. So in JBR, for instance, how much would you pay for a room, like a shared apartment room?
So you remember that back then, I did the rooming thing too in JLT back in the day. I remember that, and it was like the size of a shoebox. And I remember I paid, are you ready, 4,000 dirhams a month. And that same room I could get now for probably 2,000, 2,500.
No.
Yeah. In JLT, which is a good location.
Because I remember...
The studio apartments now are running, George, between, if you pay yearly, between 25 to 30,000 a year. JVC, very good location.
Wow.
Other locations too. Yes, this is our dream. We had to be 60 to 80,000 back then, remember? But then I guess
it balances out because you don't get paid as much.
Yeah.
Because... Yeah, I remember when I first moved, Rani was paying like 3,200 for like a decent sized room in JBR.
Okay.
So the fact that it's gone down. I remember when I got my job, when I'd graduated and I was working in marketing, I paid literally, it was like a shoebox. Like, one of those partitions with like it wasn't even a wall. It was like a metal divider, and it was this tiny room. Oh my gosh, I just remember.
I did that too. In
Uh,
jail. Things we did for freedom. I was just like, I don't want to have a curfew back to the world. I can't do this. Yeah,
that is so depressing.
Better in terms of accommodation, that's for sure. And plus, other universities, there are not universities per se, but there are some people that have set up complexes, like buildings, that cater to university students. So they do give you your own room resorts. It's kind of like a dorm room, but not really. And it's more in the city.
Is that a new thing?
Options. Yeah, it's called. There's one called the Nest. Is that, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know, but that's. Like that. There's a few of these options, but again, like right, it would still be cheaper. Like, let's say if you moved with someone that you know from university, it would be so much cheaper now to split the cost with somebody. Moving to villa, even, I don't know, with a couple of people, like, because obviously the real estate market has dropped a bit, right? So take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. That's good to know that at least if you're considering going over to Dubai, you can not worry about accommodation, especially if you're someone who's thinking about going to university there and doesn't have to worry about getting a job, but then but then can know that accommodation is cheaper.
Exactly. So basically there are always ways around, because we also have and like I said, I've only learned about this whole living on a budget thing in Dubai really after the pandemic hit. There's so many Facebook groups where they give you like little tips and tricks. So where to go for the cheapest grocery at this point. You know what I mean? Like where to get it. How to take. There's the bus tour. Forgetting the bus has routes all over the city. So that's another thing. There's just so many options. There's really so many options.
Well,
petrol would be cheaper here, as opposed to if you lived in the West, wouldn't it?
It's still cheap.
You give that,
yeah, definitely. I remember petrol was super cheap in the Middle East, and I'm guessing it's still that way. Sorry, I want to ask you some things that some of the subscribers have asked, random questions. So someone was asking, they were saying that in the UK, while you're studying, you can get about £10 an hour for...
is that 50 there? Is that 5 or 50 dirhams? I'm just
converting it now. One sec. Like 50 dirham an hour. So is that more or less than Dubai?
Again, it depends. So what's this person doing as a job?
So like for instance, it would be like a standard job, just like a bartender or a waiter or even in promotion in the UK, if you were to
in promotions, that would be the standard minimum rate, I would say.
Okay.
Minimum rate, but it can definitely go higher. Like I said, it still can go between 50 to 100. It just depends on the kind of gig that you're doing and how you price yourself and the people that you choose to work for. Because you can either go for individual agents who are also new to the space and don't know much about the pricing and how to work about it and what a real full day rate is. Or you can go with published agencies that have been doing this for the longest.
Okay.
Right. So here in the Hostess agency, I'm not sure if they're still running, but they ran their shit really well. I have to give them props for that.
Okay.
They paid really well, and a couple of other modeling agencies that might also hire you for promotional, ushering, hostessing. Events.
And once you graduated, what's your advice for people who have graduated and want to actually continue to work in Dubai? Like, what are
Dubai?
Like, what are some things you have to think about? Do you need to pre-plan? Do you need to consider internships? Do you need to kind of manage your expectations in terms of how much you're going to get paid and know that you're going to be living in a shoebox for the next year?
It's everything you just said. During my last year of university, I probably should have done it sooner, but in the last 6 months before I was about to graduate was when I really started taking the whole internship thing seriously, because I knew people that I mean, I think you weren't you doing internships and actual
Yeah.
work since from here, and I couldn't for the life of me do that. I don't know. I was just focused on, like I said, still just making money with the modeling. I was like, no, I just want my money. But basically, start sooner. The sooner the
Okay.
better, because also through internships you get to learn whether or not you even want to stay in the field that you studied for. Sometimes that's a really tricky bit, right? That you realize through the last year. Like, I started off wanting to work, for example, in print. I wanted to be working for a fashion
Like a
magazine.
journalist, yeah.
Fashion, that's completely different from the space that I ended up in, and that's because of the internship that I did. I did one internship. Don't learn from me, whoever's watching this. Where do you want to be financially if you are thinking of that route? Because I know that a lot of the younger kids now, the Gen Z, Gen X, they're definitely more really focused than we were, for sure. We didn't have financial freedom as much as they are now, which is good on you guys. Good on you guys.
That is so true.
It definitely depends on that. So have that plan. I 100% support that you should plan ahead fiscally as well and see, am I willing to make this? What kind of salary range do I want? What will I accept? How will I live in Dubai? Am I going to allow some of Dubai's luxurious kind of aspects to get in the way of my plans? Because sometimes, right, you live here, you work here, and the flashy life might be a bit magnetizing, and you might get caught up in it and end up spending just as much as you're earning or get into debt. That's a lot of things that people get into here. I know I got into debt. That's speaking from a personal point of view. I got carried away. Just like, coffee, lunch here, dinner there.
That's the thing. Easy credit card.
Spending. So that's not a way to be. The brands, the designer labels, be aware of this. Be conscious of this. And in turn,
so go on.
They end up wanting to hire you. If you build a really good rapport with them, I mean, probably not all, but if you build a good rapport with them, it can turn into a full-time job sometimes. But I guess it depends as well.
Okay, so my question then is, you strike me as someone who is like in search of something genuine in your life, and you want your career to flourish in a way that is true to you and really like just be like submit to whatever comes to you.
Authentic,
so for me, one of the many reasons that I left Dubai is that I felt like I started to lose myself. I felt like I started to lose touch with what I cared about. I started, caring about the wrong things, surrounding myself with people who I didn't even like. I have some amazing friends that we both were friends with, like Michelle and Alice and Peace and all of those who are still my friends, and I'm still in contact with them, love them to bits, and have amazing memories with them. But once they left and once life started going on, it just felt very empty for me, and I felt like I need to change things up and switch it up. But for you, it seems like you have found your sweet spot, and you are finding a way to be grounded in the midst of all of it. And I'll let you answer in a second, but I saw a video on Instagram recently, actually yesterday, and I was telling a colleague about Dubai and how it can be very glitzy and glamorous, and I told them about this story because basically on this story it was like a friend who was at a brunch, and it just like everything that I saw in these videos, like a series of videos, were just what reminded me of like the last phase of my life in Dubai, which was like just the superficiality of it. Like everyone's giving like a fake smile, and everyone's just like, life is amazing, whatever. And so, but then I talk to you and I get this energy of genuineness and groundedness and just hustling and wanting to do what you love. And so, how do you manage to keep that? And I'm really interested in what it was that has kept you there, consistently and kept you grounded.
Well, I guess I know that a lot of people share your same sentiment with Dubai. I get this a lot when I go back to Bahrain. They're like, why do you keep running back to Dubai? Like, what is it that's so good about that? They think that I want to be in Dubai for all the superficial shit that comes with it. Sure, I'm not blind to the fact that I have my privileges here, and I have there are things that that I basically
Yeah.
can, benefit from as a woman, as a Bahraini woman, in the field that I'm working in. Fine, I'll even say, sure, with the looks or whatever, because you mentioned it, but I
Yes,
can't say
of
that.
course with the looks.
But
You're a queen. But
so
anyway,
it's
go on.
different. My experience is completely different to whomever else that may not be having the same experience. But however, I don't come here for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even come here to begin with for university for that. I always just wanted, for me personally, to never be in the same place that I grew up in with people that I was constantly surrounded by. For me, Dubai, though it's not too far from home, it pushes me to have a different mindset. And I guess it also depends on you as a person, right? I was always able to kind of segregate myself from the external factors. When you know who you are, when you're true to your core, even if you get distracted along the way, you'll know how to steer back and go on the path that you were supposed to be on. So I think that's why I love Dubai so much. I'm not glued to any place in the world. I'm not saying I'm gonna be in Dubai for life, but at the moment, it is a place that I enjoy because it allows me the opportunities. I get to meet different people, and I'm not in my comfort zone as compared to what I would be if I were living in Bahrain or if I were in Philippines, because those two places tend to put me in an extreme comfort zone. So, but then again, maybe me saying that means I'm also in a comfort zone in Dubai too. I digress.
Yeah, but yeah, I know what you mean, and I really respect that. And to me, what it seems like is, because when I see you on social media, for instance, people can maybe get this facade of someone who's, I wouldn't say in that life, because no, because I'm gonna say it, but at the same time, you are, being a presenter, and you're here and there, and you're interviewing people, and you're doing all this stuff. So you're a hard worker, and it comes through. But then you can always also see this very beautiful model who's managed to become successful and is living an idealistic lifestyle, and it's just really nice to see that, or to learn and to see through all that, and understand that you had to do everything that all of us just basic students had to do, which is live in a shoebox, hustle, and and take the metro when you have to, and then you're still growing and you're still building, and so it's just not.
Game of ups and downs, isn't it? Like, so I got to, throughout my years here, what I would say I've been here for like 6-7 years, I got to live that high life. Yes, I got caught up in it, only to realize that, okay, this is where I am now after I lost my job last year. I still have to do all those things, right? So life isn't as it seems. And that's why I really wanted with social media, because I don't want people to get that idea that I am living this idealistic life, right? Because we do only show the shining, shimmering, splendid part of ourselves on social media. I don't want that. I started with sharing my vulnerability with the rock you're ugly, and my, the childhood traumas that I face and all of that. That was one big step for me, because people always assume that I live the perfect, privileged Khaliji girl life. Not the case. Still to this day, if you think you're seeing me in Sirkal working at coffee shops, I'm still having to negotiate my rates with modeling agencies. I'm still having to constantly prove my worth. I'm still having to deal with so many things that I did before. So it's just a game of ups and downs. I mean, that's life in itself, and it still is a struggle. I don't want people to think that it's not. But again, it depends on where you are happiest, and I'm happiest in, I wouldn't say chaos, but I'm happy where I'm challenged. I've come to a point where I'm actually really content. So whatever come what may from here on out, cool. But I'm learning as I go, and everyone's just learning. So I guess this conversation has also taught me to show more of that on social media. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna share me sitting at a coffee shop here, and people will presume that I'm getting all the work, I should also show the part where I'm chasing the work, how I'm getting the work, what I have to do, why I have to post every single day, sometimes showing myself in the most positive aspects, and what that attracts in return for me. It's the whole thing.
Wow. No, that is so... just the fact that you care about portraying that is enough.
Because I really don't want people looking at it. Because I feel that way sometimes when I'm scrolling. I do shit. I'm just like, oh, you tend to compare. I mean, we tend to compare, unfortunately. So when content creators actually say, hey, listen, no, but I've had this really shitty day. This is what's happening. This is how I'm living. This is blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, okay, we don't have to share everything, but it makes you feel a little bit better knowing someone's in on the same struggle. Because Instagram in itself right now is too shiny. And we have a good 2-3% of people that are willing to share their most authentic lives. And I want to be a part of that. So it's a step in, it's definitely a work in progress, because I did join this social media space before the whole influencer game became a mandatory thing, right? I started with just sharing my Instagram, with using my Instagram as a sort of digital modeling portfolio, so that agents would see my pictures. Okay, we want to hire her. I just thought it was convenient. Which is why I guess in some ways my content is still that. I haven't really grown from that aspect, but every single day you learn, and I want to keep developing that so that the other younger kids who are here studying maybe in journalism and media like us, and who want to go into this field, want to do something else, be something else, live in Dubai, so that they know that, okay, it's not easy. It does have its good, but it has its ups and it has its downs, just like with anywhere else around the world, just like with anything else that you decide to do. But you just have to decide, are you up for that challenge?
Wow. And with that attitude, you're only headed for success, Shereen. And I genuinely mean that, and I have to say I am pleasantly surprised with, well, not surprised, because you've always been someone that I've sensed genuineness from, but I think that I don't even want to use the word surprise. What I am pleased to see is that you have flourished into someone who is strong and grounded, and I feel proud about that for a reason.
I feel like we've had these conversations so many times in the past as well.
I know.
During drunk.
I swear. It's like these.
The energy doesn't lie, for sure. You know what I mean? It doesn't lie.
Yeah, and so I think this is a lovely way to end it, and I think that you've added a lot of value to the message that I want to send on my YouTube channel, and it's so nice to have someone who's able to really give us a very balanced perspective in terms of someone who's lived the lavish life, someone who's struggled, and so thank you for that, Shereen.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Shereen.
You have a good.
Take care.
All right. Keep me posted on your life as well.
I will. Insta. Right? Okay. Bye.
Much love, babe.
Bye.